You know that quiet feeling at the end of the day when everything slows down and you finally sit with your thoughts? And then it hits you, I didn't really do anything important today. It's such a familiar feeling, isn't it? Not because you were lazy. No, that's not it at all. You were busy. You did things. You moved. You responded. You handled life. But somehow, at the end of it all, it didn't feel meaningful. And that's when your mind starts to wander. Maybe I need to change something. Maybe something big. A fresh start. A new routine. A better version of me beginning tomorrow. That thought feels exciting for a moment. Almost comforting. Like a reset button you can press anytime. But then tomorrow comes, and it quietly becomes next week, then next month, and somehow nothing really changes. So what's actually going wrong here? It's not your effort. That's the surprising part. You're not lacking effort. If anything, you're trying too hard. The real problem is the size of the change you expect from yourself. We often believe that real improvement has to look big, dramatic, and immediate. So we try to change everything at once. Wake up early, exercise daily, eat clean, study consistently, think consistently, think positively, all starting the same day. It sounds impressive. It even feels motivating for a short while. But deep down, it's exhausting, unrealistic, and very difficult to maintain. So what's the alternative? Something much smaller, almost so small that a part of you might even think, that's too easy to matter. But that's exactly the point. Instead of saying, I will study English for 1 hour every day, what if you simply said, I will read 1 sentence? Just 1. That's it. No pressure, no long commitment, just a single, simple action. It might feel insignificant, but let me ask you something. Which one is easier to start? 1 sentence or 1 full hour? The answer is obvious, and when something feels easy, you're far more likely to actually do it. That's where the real shift happens. The goal is not to do more. The goal is to do something consistently, because consistency builds change, not intensity. We often confuse the two. We think big effort equals big results. But in reality, big effort often leads to short-lived energy. You go all in for a few days, maybe even feel amazing while doing it. But then life happens. You get tired, busy, distracted, and suddenly everything stops. It's not because you failed. It's because the system you chose didn't fit into your real life. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you want to start exercising. On day 1, you go to the gym for 2 hours. That sounds impressive, right? But on day 2, your body feels heavy. On day 3, you skip. And by the end of the week, it's over. Now, imagine something different. Instead of 2 hours, you start with just 5 minutes. Or even 2. It doesn't sound exciting. It doesn't look impressive. But it's doable. And more importantly, it's repeatable. That's the real goal. Not to feel strong for 1 day, but to show up every day. And something interesting happens when you do that. You stop forcing yourself. You start working with yourself. There's a kind of kindness in that approach, a quiet understanding that you don't need to become perfect overnight. So instead of asking, how can I change my life? Try asking something much lighter. What is one small thing I can do today? That question feels different. It feels possible. Because the truth is, most people don't struggle to improve because they're incapable. They struggle because they try to do too much at once. They overwhelm themselves before they even begin. But small actions, they don't overwhelm you. They slip gently into your day. They don't demand perfect conditions. They simply exist within your normal life. Think about learning English, for example. You might say, I'll study for 1 hour every day. It sounds like a good plan, but it also feels heavy. Now, imagine this instead. Every day, you listen to English while doing something you already do. Washing dishes, cleaning your room, walking somewhere. You're not adding extra time. You're using time that already exists.
And suddenly, it doesn't feel like studying anymore. It feels natural, integrated, part of your life rather than something separate from it. That's the quiet power of small habits. They don't demand extra energy. They simply reshape what's already there. And this is important because when people say, I don't have time, they often mean they don't have extra time. But everyone has daily moments, small, ordinary moments, where something meaningful can fit in. You eat, you walk, you wait, you scroll. Those moments are opportunities. You don't need to find time. You need to use the time that already exists. Another challenge people face is expecting quick results. When improvement doesn't show up in a few days, it's easy to feel discouraged, like it's not working. But small habits are slow, very slow. And yes, that can feel frustrating. But that slowness is also their strength, because they don't burn you out. They don't overwhelm you. They allow you to keep going. And over time, those tiny actions quietly build into something real. You might not notice it at first, but one day you'll realize something has changed. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but deeply. And that kind of change lasts. There's also something else worth understanding. Big plans often don't fit into normal life. They work when everything is perfect, but life is rarely perfect. Small habits, on the other hand, fit into real life. They work even on busy days, even on messy days, even when you're tired. Let's look at something very simple. You wake up in the morning and check your phone. Almost everyone does it automatically. Now imagine this. Before you start scrolling, you pause for a few seconds and say one sentence in English. Just one. Something like, "Today looks like a busy day." That's it. You didn't change your routine. You just added a small, meaningful moment. Or imagine you're in the kitchen, waiting for water to boil. Instead of reaching for your phone, you quietly say, "I'm waiting for the water." It feels simple, but it connects learning to your real life. Or you're walking somewhere and you notice something, a house, a tree, a dog, and you describe it in your mind. That house looks really nice. You're not studying, you're just noticing, and that's enough. These are normal moments, nothing special, and that's exactly why they work. Improvement doesn't need a special time or place. It can happen anywhere. Even on days when you feel tired or unmotivated. And those days matter the most. Because everything sounds good when you feel energetic. But real progress is decided on the days when you don't feel like doing anything. On those days, it's easy to do nothing at all. And afterward, you might feel a little disappointed, maybe even guilty. And that feeling makes it harder to start again the next day. But what if you looked at it differently? What if stopping wasn't the problem, but how you reacted after stopping? Instead of saying, "I failed yesterday," you could say, "Yesterday was a break." That small shift changes everything. Because now there's no pressure, no guilt, just a gentle return. And even on the hardest days, you still have a choice. Not between doing everything or nothing, but something in between. A very small version of your habit. Maybe just one sentence, one moment, one quiet effort. And that's enough to stay connected. Because the goal isn't to perform, it's to continue. Motivation will always come and go. That's normal. But habits don't depend on motivation. They depend on small actions repeated over time.
And over time, something deeper begins to change. Not just what you do, but how you think. You start to notice your inner voice, the one that says, "You're too slow," or "This isn't working." That voice can be loud and heavy. But in those moments, you have a choice. You can say, "That was wrong," or you can say, "That was practice." Same moment, different meaning. And that meaning shapes your experience. Instead of saying, "I'm not good at this," you begin to say, "I'm still learning this." That one word, still, creates space. It removes pressure. It allows growth. You stop judging yourself so harshly. You start noticing what you did instead of what you didn't do. I listened. I tried. I stayed. And those small acknowledgments matter. Because slowly, quietly, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who can't, and you start seeing yourself as someone who continues. Someone who keeps going. And that's where real change begins. Not outside, but inside. It begins with small actions, small words, small thoughts, repeated gently, again and again, until they feel natural. So before you think about changing everything, pause for a moment. You don't need a big plan today. You don't need to do everything. You just need to begin. One small action, one real moment. Something simple, something possible. Because that's how change actually happens. Quietly, slowly, and in a way that stays.